I'd like to welcome everyone to HBCU Coach's Corner. I'm Rocky Miller. I'm along with my co-host, Mr. Stephen Campbell, and our featured host, none other than the SWAC legend himself, where you know one night in Mississippi, he threw in a battle against Willie Totten and the great Jerry Rice. He threw 6 touchdowns in a losing effort against Mississippi Valley State. None other than our main man, Johnnie Cole. Hey, Coach, before we get started, Coach, I want to say with heavy hearts today, recognize one of the guys who really was a staple among the HBCU football space, somebody who watched all the shows, somebody who listened and commented and even encouraged us. Also provided us with inside information to what was going on, and who is unfortunately no longer with us, Coach Cole, a guy by the name of Craig Hall. Yeah. I want to say shout outs to him and his family, along with the Body family, who he is a relative of, someone who meant a lot to Andrew, who even accompanied Andrew on his visit to Alabama State. He unexpectedly died shortly last week, just before the Bama State game, and it was such an unfortunate situation. And Andrew, had a great game, and I just regret that Craig is not here. It wasn't here to see it live and in person, but I'm sure he was looking down and really looking after Andrew while he made a sensational performance last week, man. And Craig truly will be missed. If you guys have anything to say,
I mean, Craig was a superstar of this podcast game. He's a very integral part of Andrew's success. He also reached his hand out to Texas Southern in a football program when he was around. He was a TSU man. I remember times he would call me all the time, and man, we talked football for hours, And I had the opportunity to talk to his wife, man, which is, of course, she's tore up about it. She said that she will always keep his number because she said a lot of people be calling, and even when I called, she kind of dropped the news on me. I didn't even know, and the first thing she said, "Man, is this Coach?" I said, "Yeah." She kind of let me know that Craig, had a liking to me, and I want to appreciate her and him and the whole Body family for making me a part of that family. We talk. I've talked with the dad since that happened and after the game, but like you say, Craig was a guy that he supported all HBCU podcasts, not just ours, all of them. So he's going to be dearly, dearly missed. He's going to be missed by me personally, and I wish him and his family and I'm sending up prayers for him.
Well, I can say the same thing. I talked to Craig a couple of times. Love his nephew, big supporter, and would reach out, and when anytime I was doing a skit or something or a comment, would always comment with a positive comment. So once again, I always say this, and Coach and Rocky, you're gonna understand this too. When you come up through this space, it is a big family. Now, we don't always get along with everybody. We don't like everybody, but we're still family. And what this space allows us to do is to all enjoy successes and support each other when there's situations like this. So to the Body family, prayers out. To the Hall family, prayers out. And like I said, once again, I just want everybody to know we are here to be positive and be supportive, just like he was. So I ask everybody in his own name to be the same, because he was always uplifting, never tearing anybody down. So that's the thing about it. And that's what's great about this space. So I hope everybody will learn from him, because that's what this space is really all about.
You're going to be missed, Craig.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
Well, the 2025 college football weekend, HBCUs. Man, we've seen a lot of good football, Coach. We've seen a lot of good football. And I just want to say, as being a coach before and overlooking all the swag, man, I'm going to give them a B. I'm going to give the whole conference, MEAC, I'm going to give it a B. I've seen some great things. I've seen a lot of, good coaching decisions. I've seen, the uniform, how they carry themselves, the execution. I thought it was good. I think it's going to be tight. Some of the games were close. Of course, we know the Prairie View Texas Southern came down to 6 seconds. Florida A&M and Howard came to, 1 point. It was some good football. It was some good football this week. And I'm ready to go. If you guys ready to go, I'm ready to go.
Well, Coach, this week one got started off on Thursday. And I got something I want to say, and I'm going to get after myself for a little bit, Coach, because I'm disappointed in myself, and I want to say this, because we had a performance on Thursday by a young man in this conference that was absolutely sensational, and I had seen him play. I seen him play in his first college football game, not knowing it was him, at Baylor, and he came on the field against Baylor and was outstanding, right? I seen him play his whole freshman year and his sophomore year, and he, from a production standpoint, he was sensational, and for whatever reason, during the time when he got injured in his sophomore year at Alabama A&M, till Saturday, his ability in this conference was sometimes people's the legend of a person grows as you get farther away from their performance. But for some reason with Andrew, all the performances he had prior to him being injured at Alabama A&M, they were diminished for some reason. They were almost like swept under the rug, right? Almost like those things didn't matter. And I fell into the trap in somehow doubting what I had seen many times before. And when Andrew got a chance to play last week, he reminded us of who he is. And we all know who he is. We don't have to guess about who he is.
Yeah.
And he showed us. And so what I'm saying is, and I'll just sum it up and say it like this: I'm disappointed in myself because I doubted my own eyes. I listened to guys like Zoe talk about he hadn't beat nobody as a quarterback, understanding that they didn't win not because of Andrew. Andrew did all he could to win. If everybody on Andrew's team played like him, then they would be conference champions. You understand, at TSU. But unfortunately, you were one of the first people that, and you're a quarterback guru, Coach. You said this guy's the real deal. And he says, it's surprising that he's this good with the level of coaching he's been given up to this point. With better coaching, he can be sensational, probably even a pro prospect. And you said that. And I want to apologize to Rick, him. I want to apologize even to Craig, and because I fell victim to diminishing what he had already done in this conference and almost forgot who Andrew Body was, Coach. And I want to apologize because he reminded us on Thursday.
Well, I want to glad that we took this little time out to give him his flowers. And the thing we were talking last week, Bishop, about, back in the day when we were coming through, it was all superstar quarterbacks. And that was the one thing that we were saying is, where's that guy at? Where's the quarterback? And, when we came up, the quarterback was on the fly. Everybody knew who was going to be the starting quarterback. This day and time now is a two tandem. Everybody don't know, reversing back. Andrew Body is him. He is the guy. And I think if he continues and stay healthy and they continue to be positive, because they're going to beat some folks. Of course, they got to get their defense straightened out. But this kid is him. He's the real deal, And if you've stayed with him since then, he's a hardworking kid. He's just as good off the field with his parents and with, he's a team guy. And he's the real deal. And I really think that if he stays on this pace, he will get an NFL look. He's got size. He's got speed. He can play different positions. I'm not saying quarterback, but I am saying quarterback. He might can go to wide out. He might can play a free safety or a strong safety because he is a tough kid. So I'm letting you guys know he's on the clock.
Well,
I'm talking about the NFL clock.
Let me say this, Campbell. I'm gonna ask you, Campbell, because you're a historian, Coach. You may be able to input on this. When the last time the SWAC or HBCUs, for that matter, had a guy to pass for 300, run for 100 against a Division 1A opponent?
Now, well, I'm gonna tell you. Well, so here's the thing. Now, Coach, I don't think Tavares Jackson ever did that because against FBS. Now, Steve McNair, did he do that?
Yes.
One game.
I think he did against Mississippi State, or not Mississippi State, but Southern Miss.
Maybe
I don't
Southern
know
Miss.
if he rushed for 100 yards, but it's close.
Yeah. So I'll answer this. The person who had the potential. So when you start throwing names like Tavares Jackson and Steve McNair out like that just alone, no matter the amount of 300, 100, but the fact that it's in that conversation says something. But I'm gonna give it right back to you. But I want to say something, and I'm gonna say what Coach said. FBS play, okay? He played at FBS school, right? So no matter the level, it's still FBS. He had the most impressive offensive performance of any offensive player this weekend.
At any level.
Show me enough. And like I said again, I know there's levels because there's group of five, but FBS, that's who he played against. He had the most impressive offensive performance for the whole weekend.
And no interceptions. No interceptions.
So that's interesting. And shout out to Andrew Body. But, Coach, we got to move to this next game that happened on Thursday, Coach. And this was, I don't know how it could be any worse, in my opinion. And this was Alcorn losing to Northwestern. I won't belabor this point. I think it is what it is. Coach Thomas is a friend of the show. And so I want to recognize that. Shout out to Coach Thomas and his him coming on the show, Coach. But he can't be happy about what he saw on Thursday.
Well, let me piggyback off that because I was just as shocked as you was, and it is Coach Thomas, but it ain't Coach Thomas, and this is what I mean. Coach, they controlled the game, but you can't have 15 penalties, 15, 16 penalties. Now I don't know exactly what the penalties on. And I started looking at that, and I think they had 2 turnovers. That's just too much to overcome. You know what I'm saying? And when you give an opportunity to a team, and they start feeling good about themselves and momentum change, I think that's what happened. You know, when I looked at the stats, Alcorn dominated the game. But you can't have 15 turnovers. You can't rush 20 yards and then you got to hold it, or pass interference and all that. You just can't do it. And you definitely can't turn the ball over 2 times. So you turn the ball over 2 times, 15 penalties. That's 17 plays in that football game that changed the outcome. It either changed field position, it either changed momentum, it even changed tempo, but it wasn't good for Alcorn State. So I know that coach will come back. He's going to look at that. They're going to have to make some changes. You know, of course, when you start getting too many penalties, you know, the discipline. But I think Coach, he does have something to grab onto to say the reason why they lost that football game.
Now, Coach, in your opinion, and I'll pass to Campbell, see if he has it. As a coach, and you've prepared all spring, you prepared all summer, you went in the fall camp, and you have a performance like that. Is the inclination to change a lot of things, or is it to just refine what you already have done? What would be the instinct of a coach in that moment?
Well, I'm glad you asked, and that's the big thing about when you lose to a person or a team. I'm saying a person or a team that you shouldn't have. At least you could put your finger on it. You know what I mean? It ain't that they got better players, because you can't change the players you have. It ain't because your scheme. It's because we didn't execute right. You know what I'm saying? It ain't because you know, we weren't prepared. We were prepared, but the guy dropped the ball or the quarterback didn't look. So if I got some things I could put my hands on, then I feel real good about it. I tell you what, when I was at Texas Southern, I knew when we played Tuskegee down in the Gulf Coast Classic in Mobile, I said, if we win this game, because I felt we had a good team, I said, I'll win the national title. We went down there, guys, man, and drove interception, fumble, penalty, and ended up losing to Texas Southern. I don't know what time I was so mad and so upset at my football team and my quarterback. Man, I benched it for the next 2 games. And, I mean, it hurt so bad because it was just like what you said. I couldn't put my hand on nothing. We were a better football team. You know what I mean? But I had a quarterback threw 4 picks, four uncontested picks, you know, and it was just wild, man. It just bring back the memories. And I tell you, when we got back to the school, man, I told him, man, take that tape and throw it away. We didn't even watch that tape. We didn't talk about the game because I didn't want it to beat me twice. So I said that to say, you know, coach got to go in there, make your corrections. Don't get on the team so hard because you don't want to get them down. Then now that team don't beat you twice. You're going in to play your next game, you still talk about the mistakes on that one. We didn't watch the film. I didn't even look at the game. We just started on the next game, man. And of course, you guys know we rolled on to a SWAC championship.
Well, coach, that's what if I was a coach and my livelihood depended on winning football games, losing to a team that had won the game in 20 tries, coach. You know, that. To me, that's a U-Haul appointment. That's a U-Haul appointment. You may want a consultation at that point, coach. That's what you're thinking, coach. And I'm just saying it to say this: like, if you can't beat a team that hadn't won the game in 20 tries, coach, that's pretty. That's.
What about the team that Prairie View won when they lost 80 in a row?
That was Langston, I believe, right?
Yeah. You know, and you can't worry about that part. I mean, when I lost to Prairie View, my championship season, I couldn't have said, "Oh, well, there's the SWAC championship. We'll never win it. You know, we can't win it." That never crossed my mind. You know, we went, watched film, made our corrections, and of course, you know, we rolled on through everybody else. So you can't let that game beat you twice. You know what I mean? You can't. You gotta let it go, coach. You gotta let it go. Have a short memory. Get back to the business at hand. Now, I will say this: if you start looking over at some of your players and they ain't playing, they ain't good as you thought they were, then yeah, you got a problem. You got a problem. But I mean, statistic wise, Alcorn dominated the game, except in the turnovers and in the penalties. And I think coach is going to get that corrected.
And I'll just bring Campbell in on this conversation because your fan base faced a devastating loss last year by a team that hadn't won a game, I don't believe. How did that impact the morale of the fans? And do you think can you compare the two games for each fan base? The Alcorn Forum fan base, which has a winning tradition of winning SWAC championships, being very successful. You guys have a winning pedigree, having recently won the Black College National Championship, but lose to a team who was winless at the time. Can you compare those two, or are there two different circumstances?
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to just tie the stats in. Alcorn's quarterback, Jalen Tolbert, 19 for 44, 182 yards, 2 interceptions. Northwood State, Abraham Johnson only went 9 for 18 for 85 yards. So, again, it kind of starts to stop at the quarterback position, what I saw when I watched this game with Alcorn. Of course, through the pick six. Well, Alcorn got the pick six. And so they didn't even score a point. They scored 3 points. I think the thing, our loss is way more devastating because, A, it broke a streak, and it was a SWAC game and Valley. The one thing that Valley's going to be able to say, and this is the thing that you always hear, well, it wasn't a conference game. They're going to be able to say that. So for them, again, while the loss is big, and, for a lot of people, they'll hear the 22 games, Alcorn can right the ship real quick by starting winning SWAC games. So they had a bit for us. There was no righting the ship after that. No matter if we beat Bethune or Alabama A&M, which we did afterwards, there was no we lost to Mississippi Valley that broke a streak that that streak should not have been broken against Valley. So it was way more intense, way more into that. So for Alcorn, I think while they're embarrassed, I think that for them, I think their fans are going to be able to brush it off much quicker. Because, again, if you ask half those fans the name of the mascot of their team, 90% of them couldn't even tell you. They couldn't even tell you. I'll tell you, over half of them probably didn't know, other than if they looked on social media, that school had lost 22 games straight.
Yeah.
So they don't have anybody where you got in the conference constantly every day. I've got to hear, which we got people in the chat, which I don't care, but that's what I'm saying. That's going to remind us that we lost the Valley. You see what I'm saying? That's part of the conference. So that's part of the lore. So family got to own it. I think Alcorn, for them now, the thing that, and you know what, I'm going to say this, and Coach, I want to get your opinion. Before I started doing this show, right, I always had empathy for coaches, but now doing this show, talking to them, I really have empathy. So the things that I think that I want to say, I don't say, because when I sit back and again, like you say, Coach Thomas, he comes on this show, he feels good, he's got the quarterback, and then what you say, your team, that hurt me. That's one of our guys. You know what I mean? Everybody that's came on Coach's Corner, I have a personal relationship now to me. So I root for them no matter what. So when I see it, it is not just some random joke, oh, they lost, 22. These are things that I know Coach Thomas, his staff is like, the pressure's on now. And I don't care what people say that doesn't. And, we'll get to FAMU. We'll have a whole segment about FAMU. But the pressure's on now. Because now you got to think about, is this the right person that we put at the quarterback? Did we have the right plays called? What a mistake. Because you got to restart all over and rebuild. Yeah. So that's the thing that I find interesting when I see a loss like this, that going into it. But I think, once again, what you can do, you can recover by starting winning SWAC games.
Well, one thing about coaches, man, that's true. You got to be true to yourself. And I talk about how I learned and things like that. I remember playing Kentucky State at Lane, and we got to the stadium late, and we running out trying to get dressed. That's on me. That's on me as the coach. You know what I mean? We wasn't prepared. We didn't get that early, And, coaches, they take them dark days and dark times and look in the mirror and really, 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 you got to really, really be true to yourself. And that's one of the worst things I hate when I'm around coaches and I'm around a program is where I see a coach always blaming it on somebody else. Sometimes, you got to blame it on yourself as the coach. Did I have a team prepared? Were we ready? You got to go and evaluate yourself. If you're not doing those things, I mean, even I would scout myself. I would have a group of my coaches who would scout our offense, scout our defense on what plays that we like, what we like to do. You got to do checks and balance because you understand you got to know the whole gamut of it. So, good coaches, that's what they do. And the guys that we've had on our show, I'm pretty sure they go back and they do that, and then they make the corrections and they get rolling. You gotta win that next one. And then after that next one, you win that one, then you're back on track.
Hey, Coach, it's that time. I want to thank everybody who's been watching us on the Off Script channel. We're going to suspend at the 30-minute mark. We're going to suspend the broadcast on the Off Script channel, but you can catch it on the Rocky Miller channel, the home of the HBCU Coaches Corner. So I'll put the link in here one time. Once you guys have switched over, could you please hit us with a 1 so that'll let us know that you guys have switched over, and then we'll go ahead and end the stream over on the Off Script channel. So thank you very much. Coach, but
real quick, I'm
go ahead.
Emmett Jones. Tell Emmett I'll definitely get Coach Jenkins on this show in the next either couple of days or next week. Definitely, he'll be on the show. Emmett, go ahead.
Okay,
Coach.
cool. Now here's something interesting, Coach. We had one of the guys that were on the show because we do want to get those guys their flowers. They're in a situation where they've come on the show, they've talked to our audience, they've interacted with us. I want to thank them. And one of those guys was Coach Terrell Buckley. He had a game where he hosted Southern. It was his very first game, and it was Mississippi Valley's first game, right? And it was Southern's second game. I want to ask you this here, Coach. After watching that game, I think it could have been a different. I watched it twice, Coach, because I watched it on SWAC TV in demand. And, Coach, it almost seemed like at points in the game, Mississippi Valley looked sensational. I'm going to be honest with you, very impressive. But it also looked like it was a team who had played the game playing against a team who had already played the game and knew their strengths and weaknesses. Am I off base with that, Coach, or is having played a game an advantage for a coach?
Yeah, I think you're right on. It was so much newness with Mississippi Valley, new coach, 50, 60 new players. We're playing at home. I could say one thing. I could tell that Terrell Buckley, Coach Buckley, pay attention to details. I like a well-dressed team. I think it says a lot about them. And I'm not saying well-dressed as their colors, I'm saying their shirts tucked in, their socks all the same, the shoes all the same. They look the same. Ain't nobody trying to stand out. I don't see 5 flags, a green shoe and a red shoe. I didn't see all that. And I seen a team that cared about the little things. The thing with Coach Buckley that he's going to have to overcome, he's going to have to sell himself. He can't sell Valley because they're sitting in the middle between Greenville and Greenwood around a cotton field in the middle of nowhere. So him and his coaches got to sell themselves that they're championship coaches so he can get some championship players there. I've seen the game as you've seen it. Offensively, I think Southern's defense dominated the trenches at times. And y'all know we seen them against North Carolina Central. We didn't even know where they were. They were on stage. You know what I'm saying? I seen some great skilled kids from Mississippi Valley. I thought the quarterback, when he get out of there, he can extend plays. He can make a lot of things happen. I seen a lot of enthusiasm by Valley. You know what I mean? They came out playing like, hey, look, this game is just as good as ours. And I think you're right on point that if this was Valley's second game, it could have been a different outcome. It could have been a different outcome.
Go ahead, Campbell.
So, I text Coach Buckley, and I'm going to tell you something. And he told us, and that's one thing why it's always great to have these coaches that this is going to be a different team. And, Coach, one of the things that he kept saying, his signature acronym, FBI, football intelligence. And, Coach, I'm going to tell you something what you saw. You saw that football intelligence. Valley's known to make a lot of penalties. Even though they had 8, Southern only had 7. So they were right there. Time of possession. They were only down 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes was that drive basically right before the end of the half when Southern kind of got that thing rolling and scored before the end of the half. You're talking about, hey, passing yards. They got 218 yards. They still almost got 100 yards rushing for a team that, again, had players that they were playing against the defensive player of the year that they kind of pretty much kept in check. Didn't hear his name called a lot. Again, looks like he got a quarterback with Josh Brown that, like I say, did 146, almost ran for 100. So, you kind of look at that. Now, on the Southern side, I want to say something. Prayers to Jalen Woods. Thank God that young man was not injured. Everything was fine. It was a big hit. People thought it was targeted. They did not call it. He started the game. Cameron McCoy came in. They kind of did the Cameron McCoy thing. Southern, once again, pulled out that deep running back room. Jason Gabriel almost had 100 yards. So Southern is kind of saying, you know what? We're not going to be this great passing team. We're going to run the ball. We're going to do and try to get some big plays out of the wide receivers, which they actually got. So one of the things that I will say that, again, for Coach Buckley and what I like is I think everybody's on the same page. And let's give a shout out to the offensive coordinator who, once again, we had on HBCU Coaches Corner. That guy dialed it up. There were some plays that were there that were just missed because it wasn't executed. It wasn't because it wasn't great play call. So I saw great play calling. I saw enthusiasm. And again, you're talking about, an onside kick that maybe could have won the game or put it in overtime.
Now, Coach, let me ask you this, because I always like getting coaches' perspective on this. It was clear to us that Josh Brown was the more effective quarterback in that game, right? When you go in with a plan to play both guys, right? Do you just commit to that because that's what you told the guys that you were going to play both of them? I mean, because if you look at it, Josh Brown was 12 of 25, and Brandon Nunez was 2 of 8. But the real problem with Brandon Nunez, he was 4 rushes for negative 23 yards. Him coming in the game put them in some really bad situations when you talk about sacks and attempts to run the ball. So when you see that, if you have a plan to play 2 guys, why are coaches so committed to that plan to play 2 guys? I'll just ask you that.
Well, because you make the promise, your word is your bond with your players. And again, I go back to my days as a coach. I had Leon Murray and a guy named Todd Valentine. Todd Valentine played on the team last year, but Leon transferred in to us from the University of Pittsburgh. And really going into the game, I felt that Leon was the better guy, but I started Todd. It was the first game. It was against Florida A&M. And Todd came in, did what we thought he would do, 1, 2, 3 out, 1, 2, 3 out. Leon comes in because we said we would let you play, and then I told him whoever's hot, that's who we're going with. Well, Leon came in and hit 14 straight completions. So that was history. Leon became our quarterback, and we went on to great things and winning almost win national championship. No, we won the national championship that year and went on to do some great things. So, yeah, you kind of, once you get 2 kids, their word. But, I mean, it depends. If that quarterback you put in there, he get hot and he's moving the team, you kind of stay with him. But if he ain't moving and we ain't scoring, then you stay with the system. So, once you make that commitment to the 2 guys and tell them we're gonna play both of y'all. But always, to me, I think you should put on the end. Now, we're gonna go with the hot guy now. We're not gonna go with the guy that ain't getting it done. We're gonna go with the hot guy. And after that half, or after the first and second quarter, you should know by then who's your guy is.
Well, let me ask Bishop this, being our sports historian and somebody who's followed the SWAC for a long time also. Has there ever, I know that University of Florida had a 2-quarterback system that worked out and won a national championship with Tebow and I think Chris Leak, if I'm not mistaken. Has a 2-quarterback system ever worked out in the SWAC, to your recollection?
Bishop? Well, let me say this. I want to answer it this way. I think what you got is you got a bunch of new coaches that are trying to find out what they got in their quarterback room. And I don't think any, and I can look at, because let's be clear, and I'm making a bigger, other than Andrew, I'm going to give Jacoby Morgan, not from the passing side, but just run the offense, and the kid down at Prairie View that threw for y'all, no other quarterbacks did anything spectacular, period. So to me, I think it's more, especially with the new coaches, like Coach said, I got a guy that maybe was a little bit ahead coming out of the campus. I'm going to start, but let me just see what this other guy got, because you got to find out on the run, especially for these new coaches. So I don't think any of these new coaches have quarterbacks that were that dominant where they were guaranteed 100%. You knew, like Jacoby, you knew, Andrew, you knew, the kid down there at Prairie View, you knew, and even the kid at Texas Southern, you knew. You could kind of tell that was the guy. But the rest of it, I think what Coach did, I think honestly was just say, you know what? We work this kid in. Let's just see what's going on because of the long season. Cool. So, no, I think, Coach, I remember Jackson State had McKenzie and another guy that was going in and out a little bit one year. Grambling did that in the 80s, and that name's going to come to me. And didn't Southern do that a couple of times? They had those two quarterbacks. One could throw, one could run, if I remember correct, in the 80s.
When my time they had my friend, good friend, man, we done went back, Coach. We done went back.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? Because they kind of did that. But I know Jackson had McKenzie, and there was another guy that was with McKenzie. McKenzie finally went on and started and stuff like that. WC kind of went with it. So Rocky, to answer your question, I think for this situation, you got a lot of coaches because their quarterback room is not 100% settled, that they want to give an opportunity to the other guy.
Well, let me
go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say something you always say, Coach Cole. Since you and I have been working together, Coach Cole, it has frustrated you to a great deal that these guys won't pick a guy and develop that guy. And you've pointed out many times to me, whether it be on the phone or through text, that it's important that a team settles on somebody so you can start building chemistry and determine what kind of offense you're going to have. Coach, go right ahead.
Well, because the court, and that's the problem. We don't have good quarterback coaches. You know what I mean? You got to have good quarterback coaches, and most of the time, a guy who played this position, because the quarterback handles the ball 100% of the time. 100. He gonna touch that ball every time. He has to feel comfortable. You have to either take your offense and build it around a guy. If you in your philosophy, if you're a throwing guy, then you got to get you a throwing guy back there. Like for me, I don't really like a running quarterback, a guy that ducks and run all the time. I've said it for the longest. When I see these guys playing at these other schools or even in the pros, where they can't go through their progressions, primary, who's my primary receiver, who's my secondary, then I drop it off. You get guys now drop back on primary and over, he gone out of there. You know what I'm saying? So that's telling me right now this guy's not going through his progressions. And you got to be, as a coach, you got to know. But what we do, we sit back, especially these young African-American quarterbacks, we sit back, he look at his primary, it ain't there. He fake everybody on the field. The crowd going wild, the players going wild, and he don't miss his primary guy down the field. But because he didn't see him, you got to trust the system. You know what I'm saying? There's different holes in coverages that you just got to let the ball go and trust the system. And the guy scored a touchdown, and then nobody coaches him. He the best thing, and holy mo. Me, I'm going to watch film. I'm going to go through the progression with him, and I'm going to get on his ass. Because when you play them good ones, we could take one Bishop and DeBoer Clark, David Wright. David Wright, when he played and he scrambled and he found boom, 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 3,000-yard passes. But when he played a good team, how many interceptions he threw to against Miles? Miles, probably 13. Well, that was one game. That was one game. He threw almost 11, 12. Because what? And I can say it's because they didn't coach him through them tough times. They had to teach him how to trust the system. And you got to have good quarterbacking coaches that you got to coach a quarterback every day, every play that he comes back.
Coach, let me say this, Coach, and this is going back to the Mississippi Valley Southern game for a moment. Southern was able to pass the ball had some success passing with Jalen Woods, right? However, they weren't really putting points up. I think having Cam McCoy come in the game simplified the game plan and made it a priority that they run the football. So what I'm saying, Coach, sometimes I think the quarterback in this situation for Southern made them a running team, and that was their best option in order to win the game because it shortened the game. You took the time of possession away from Mississippi Valley, and it gave your team an identity. And to me, those three things were the recipe for Southern to win the game because I think they came in the game wanting to throw the ball all over the yard. Because just in a quarter and a half, Jalen Woods was 9 for 13 for 70 yards, but they were passing for 5 yards a pass. You might as well hand it off. If you're going to do that, that's a much safer option.
Well, let me give them a tip. I'm gonna give them a tip, Coach. When you got McCoy in the game, you got two explosive players. You got the kid from LSU at the tailback, and you got the quarterback. Go into a run and do what McCoy do best with the ball. Put him on some bootlegs. Make him fake and go the other way. Put him on the edge. Let him know whenever you teaching a quarterback, we teaching tonight. Whenever a quarterback breaks contain, you tell him one thing: run first, pass second. Why? Just give me 3.5. Give me 3.5 on first, 3.5 on second. That give you second, and you give me 3 on third. What we doing? We moving the chains. That's what you want to do. So if McCoy is gonna be the guy, let him be the guy. Let him, and then when he do fake and come out and get one over top, y'all know he can throw one over top now. And I'll give him on some quarterback counters, some quarterback power, along with this other kid. Man, they would be dynamite together. But you got to put together a system that's what they and you got to work him with the bubble screens and the slants. You know what I'm saying? So you can't do what you do with Allen, what you do with McCoy. You can't do what you do with McCoy with the other kid. And that throws the offense out, and the offense never gets any continuity. You know what I mean? So now you're just out calling plays, and McCoy is running plays that Allen should call, and Allen is running plays McCoy. You all over the board. Get solid. Make up your mind. I tell you what, when I won my championship, guys, you always say, what you say I done on the night in Mississippi Valley? I threw the ball, didn't I? I had to make a decision that we had great defense. Don't turn the ball over. Let's let the defense win. And we had 2 hell of a tailbacks. And that's how we won the championship my year at Texas Southern. I decided in the offensive room that we were going to get the ball to our best athletes. And those were our running backs. You know what I mean? And then you know what I did with my quarterback? Because he was a runner, we had running plays for him too. And we kept it safe, and we let our defense win the championship game. So you just got to make a decision, because that in and out, your team, your offense, it's got to sync. It's got to have some continuity so it can move the ball. And it's about getting first down.
Let me ask you this question, because I think this is important. And I think what you're saying is correct, but I want to put something in perspective. How much is the problem that a lot of these quarterbacks were not even there last year? Some of these quarterbacks were not in spring practice. Some of these quarterbacks came in the summer. So I hear you talking about let's put all these plays in, but Coach, you know to install the offense, you can't do that in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And again, part of the summer, they're not even quote unquote practicing with the coaches. So what I'm looking at, I bet you if we start looking at some of these players and look at transfers, RJ from FAMU, Cam from Southern, you start seeing things. But now start looking at the quarterbacks there. Andrew's been in that system. We've been in Alabama State. Because do they have the same offensive coordinator, same guy?
He's been there 2 years. He's been there 2 years.
So now he's been there the whole time. He knows the offense. Jacoby Morgan's been in Jack State for 3 years. I think people don't understand that. What more does he not know about that offense? He's been there for 3 years. TC can put all types of stuff in there for him. So, but when you start looking at these other guys, while you see it, can Southern really put in all these plays? And somebody tell me when Cam McCord got there. Because like I said, I think he got there late spring or the summer. So I think that has more to do with is the continuity. You know, you got the kid in. He didn't throw for a bunch of yards, but he was effective with that offense down in Texas Southern. Yeah, he's been there. It's the same offense. Even Peters, different offense, but he's been there. So I think that has so there you go. So Crook, thank you, Crook. He's been there for the summer. So what, you know, again, we see this is my thing, Coach, and I want to point out because this is HBC Coaches Corner. And I've just seen a line in the diaspora. Oh, these coaches can't coach. These coaches don't know what to do. But they don't realize, Coach, you got to be able to time the coach, right?
Say that again.
You have to be able to coach. You have to have time to coach. And my point of it is, how can you coach? How can you? Yeah. So my point of it is, while Coach, you're a great offensive mind. I don't care what it is. If you only got 3 weeks with a kid, that hobo offense ain't gonna be the hobo offense. It's just gonna be the whole offense, and then we gonna get to the bowl later. You see what I'm saying? That's my point. So that's what I think we see with a lot of these guys. Is that's the problem? Is that these guys are coming in, they transfer, and they got the size and the speed and all that, but they don't know the offense yet, and you can't do the things that you're talking about.
Well, I think when it comes to offense, the only thing that's changed is terminology. The power play is the power play. The lead is the lead. The outside zone is the outside zone. You know, so some of the blocking schemes are all the same. You know, it's just the point of attack. Once you learn the point of attack, you know, you gotta believe in yourself, and you gotta know, you know, what you get. I mean, Leon Murray came in, and we didn't have him in the spring. He came in the fall. You know what I mean? And it's fortunate we put the time in to get him up and going in the offense of what we do. You got to do what that kid can do and what he can do well. You just can't. If you got a kid that can't throw the ball that well, then you got to put some things around him and make the passes they throw are nice and easy. But I just don't believe in the alter. The same thing you're saying. Well, if I don't have time to train the kid, then how can I put 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the game? Oh, you got this series. Oh, you went 1, 2, 3 out. Maybe the offensive coordinator called the wrong plays against the wrong defense. So, okay, you go over there. All right, you come in. Oh, you doing well. Well, maybe the offensive coordinator called the right offense against the defense. Then, even though he done well, hey, man, I got to get this other guy in here. Man, the object of the game is to win the football game. And as coaches, we got to come out of the fall, come out of them practices, and make some hard decisions. That's why they call you head coach. That's why they call you coordinator. You know what I'm saying? You got to say, this is the guy that we're going with.
Coach,
and do what he can do best.
Coach, here's one of the things the bishop wanted me to put up some blind stats so we can look at them and compare quarterback stats, not necessarily quarterbacks, but just quarterback stats. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to do it, but I want to point out some things, Coach.
Can I say this before you put the stats up?
I won't be able to put them up, but we can talk about it.
Okay. Here's the only stats to me when it comes to a quarterback. pass percentage, and did we win?
So here's the thing, Coach. Here's what people will say. I've heard this. We've had people literally kill R.J. Johnson. Is that his name from FAMU?
Yeah. Yep.
Kill him. Literally kill him for going 17 for 32?
Yep.
Right? We know that's not good, right? But however, there was another quarterback who went 15 of 30, and he's been titled the ultimate game manager, Coach. He 13, you gotta remember, 15 of 30, 4.8 yards a pass, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, Coach. And this guy it's been said by many, he's the ultimate game manager, the field general, Coach. Coach, my point is, both of the stats are the same. How can one be the field general and the other one be garbage?
The only thing I could tell you is the fans don't coach. They don't know. They don't know. It's the coaching staff that says what's what. You know what I mean? Now, if you look at one aspect of it, again, if guys, how many drops were they? Were we in the right play versus the right defense? You know what I'm saying? And the biggest thing I just said, pass completions, and then we win the game. I thought the guy at Prairie View managed the game well. I think maybe that's who you're talking about.
No, okay. So, no. We talking about the guy from Jackson State. Okay. He was 15 for 30. People are saying over at Jackson State, he's a field general. He's an ultimate game manager. Coach, they passed the ball for 5.8 yards an attempt and ran the ball for 8.3. Why were you even passing the ball?
Yeah, you got a point there, Rocky. You got a legit point, but you got to throw the ball some to loosen
what I'm simply saying, Coach, you can't make one guy the ultimate game manager when the results of the other guy. Now, let's say this. The other team lost. Unfortunately, FAMU lost their game, right? But FAMU wasn't able to run for 283 yards. Matter of fact, I guarantee you this, Campbell, if y'all were able to run for 283, do you think y'all would have won the game?
Yeah, I would hope so. Let's say that. I would hope.
No. See, this is what we get. I'm hating now.
Let me say something because you're on something. But let me tell you this, and I think this is what coach is going. Okay, you got both quarterbacks, right? And they picked the FAMU quarterback because they said, I'm assuming, from my understanding, that he can run, right? He can do a couple things with his feet. The one thing that I like that I watched that whole Jackson State game because it was blowing my mind. And Paris knows it because she saw my tweets. How they gonna beat Jackson? I'm like, y'all are out your mind, right? But let me tell you what I like. Coach TC said, you know what? I got all these weapons, and they were throwing it. That's not Jacoby Morgan game. And you know what he said? I mean, they tried, but you know what he said? We can run these bootlegs. We can run these screens. We can run up the middle and run our game. The flip side of that is we didn't see that with FAMU. The kid where the plays at to run, play to his strength, because his strength is not tossing the ball all around the yard like Andrew did, then play. So what I like, and this is why I've always never had a problem with Jacoby. What the problem is I have when people try to make him do something he's not. He's not a passing quarterback. He's a great game manager. That wins championships. So for them, their offense fits their offense. And they try something, and they're going to get those weapons going. But Jacoby Morgan is never going to go 25 for 30 for 350. That's not his game. Nor should it be Jackson State's game when you got kids that can tote it for 100-some yards. So I would always rather have the guys that can beat you down and run it. So that's what I think, again, where the problem comes in at, Rocky, to your point.
I was looking at L. Dot 662 said, Coach Cole, when does the head coach make the decision to relieve a coordinator? What goes into that decision? Well, first of all, you got to give him an opportunity to do his thing, and I don't know if you listened to us before, because I'm an offensive guy, I never really just reached out a hard offensive coordinator. I gave him the title maybe, but I've called the plays on the weekend, just because of that. The things that you got to evaluate. You got to evaluate your coach. And like I said earlier, I've always had a staff that scouted. We scouted ourselves as the defense scouted themselves. And if they're not getting it done, they're not sound. And what I mean by sound, where people are popping wide open. If you're talking about a defense coordinator, you're not in the right front, you're not in the right defense. At times, you see that he don't have a handle on it. And most of the time you'll do it after the season. I don't think you'll do it during the season. You'll go with the guy, you give him the opportunity, because at the end of the day, if he's the coordinator, and that's why it's very, very important that you hire not only a good coordinator, but other good coaches around him. You know what I mean? And so you can sit down and talk. And that's a good thing about a head coach, Dot. That's why a head coach should know the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, as well as the special team coordinator of the ball, so he can ask the right questions. Don't be an asshole, because sometimes, coordinators, they just personnel-wise, they don't have the right personnel. And that's why it's also important that when you are recruiting, you don't go sign 10 wide receivers with an offensive line. We need more offensive linemen. You don't go sign, a whole bunch of running backs when you're only playing one. So all that's strategic and making sure that these coordinators have what they need to perform at the highest level.
So these guys are saying that I'm hating, and if y'all want to say that, that's fine. I didn't give you an opinion on one or the other. What I said was, y'all say that one is the ultimate game manager, the ultimate field general. He literally has exactly the same stats of a guy who lost. Y'all call one guy horrible, terrible. Fam, you can't win with that. Yet y'all say y'all guy is the ultimate field general, and he literally has the same numbers. The only difference is this, guys. You see this? 32 for 283. That's the only difference. If RJ Johnson had a 32 for 283 running game, what he did at quarterback would be enough. And I will say this, if y'all only could pass for 89 yards, where my camera at? If y'all only could pass for 89 yards, y'all would have lost against Hampton. Guarantee it. Guarantee it.
Wow.
So don't tell me that one guy's the ultimate game manager and the other guy is trash, because that's just not true. Y'all are making the narrative fit because y'all like the kid, because y'all ultimately won the game. I get it. But at the end of the day, one stat line is no better than the other. And I'm done.
Yeah. Neither stat was impressive, Coach. And I understand what you're saying. Sometimes we get caught up in our feelings.
My name is Danny Wilson, and I won $500 on the lunch break with AJ Jones.
BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.